うちの孫変わったゲームに凝ってんのよ。テレビゲームなのにテレビも見ないで。
左行こっか。何かある？
もう何かに必死になってんの。似てるわ。
テレビとアドバンス2つの画面を行ったり来たり、みんなで協力謎解きだ。つながる遊びが3つも入った任天堂ゲームキューブゼルダの伝説4つの剣プラス。
And we know Flipper lives in a world full of wonder, lying there under the sea.
What's up, y'all? This is Rachel Schaefer back at you with another video. And as you can see over here, by the way, sorry about the mess. My nose is still messed up. But as you can see over here, we have Flipper. But we're not completely talking about Flipper because there's one thing that I've wanted to try out that I haven't seen any videos about it on YouTube. So I feel like it's my duty to do so. And you know that the GameCube can link up with the GBA. Everybody knows that. There's videos of it all over YouTube. But none about linking it with the Analogue Pocket. Now, this is an FPGA console. It plays Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color natively, and other handhelds with adapters, and it can also play flash carts, and it's also got Open FPGA. The thing with that is not a lot of people know that, yes, you can do link cable stuff on your Analogue Pocket or know how to. Now, there's people that have talked about how to get the official Nintendo cable to work by taking out the springs, but we don't need to do that because, as you've seen in the last week's video, I have a third-party cord, and I've had this cord for literally the past 21 years. So, and it still works. So today, we're going to be showing you some of the functionality of the link cable, what you can do with it, but also show it working on the Pocket, and also Open FPGA. So we got the Flipper, we got the Pocket. Let's get started. So how would you set this up? Well, I'm glad you asked, because there's a port on the bottom. That's your GBA link port. Take your cable, shove it in, and you hold the power button to turn it on. Now, some people are going to tell you, or at least claim, that you actually need to use a cartridge, and we do have a cartridge in there, but that'll be apparent why later. But that you need a cartridge just to run link mode. You do not. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to play cartridge, and the Analogue Pocket will go into link mode, and you could just leave it. That's it. That's simple. So let's get started with a favorite of mine, Animal Crossing. And by the way, we're not going to cover the e-reader here. We're literally just going to cover another aspect of it, playing NES games. Now, you can use the e-reader and Animal Crossing e-cards to unlock stuff, but that's not what we're here to cover. We're here to cover the functionality of just the cable and the unit itself. So the easiest thing to do is to play NES games on here. And yes, you could see I have the Forbidden 4, which are the ones that usually you need a save editor or Game Shark to unlock. And you can actually transfer these to your Game Boy Advance to play while the power is on. And I'm going to show you that with Super Mario Brothers. So we would go to Advance Play, and it's going to use the cable. And make sure the cable is connected in port 2. That's very important. So for certain Game Boy games, for certain times you use this thing, the Game Boy has to be in slot 1, other times in slot 2. And as you can see, it's on link mode. It's saying the game, and success. We could play Super Mario Brothers, downloaded from Animal Crossing on the Game Boy. Not my best effort, but in 2002, when this came out, I can only imagine like how revolutionary this was, because I didn't have my GameCube until later that year, and I didn't really play Animal Crossing until 2004. But that's besides the point. The point is that you can actually do this. And this is a couple of years, mind you, before the classic NES series. So to quit, you would just go quit cartridge, and then go back to play cartridge, and link mode is enabled again. But there is a problem that you need to be aware of. Certain games that you can unlock, and I'm not just talking about Forbidden 4, there's also Punch-Out!, Wario's Woods, and Clue D, which Clue D you can actually unlock in-game. But let's try doing it with Zelda and seeing what happens. Can't play Legend of Zelda on your Game Boy Advance, and there's a reason for that. The RAM of the Game Boy Advance is only 32 megabytes or 32K, one of the two. But the problem is that games like The Legend of Zelda, Punch-Out!, and Clue D and Wario's Woods are bigger than the Game Boy Advance's RAM. So you can only put an NES game in there that will fit in the system's RAM. So literally every other game could fit except for Zelda, Punch-Out!, Wario's Woods, and Clue D. But that's not all you could do with the Game Boy Advance. There's other stuff you can do as well. You remember this, don't you? This was the preview disc that you could get for like, I believe, $5 or $10 at GameStop or whatever it was back in 2003. Because I remember having this disc back in the day. But this actually has a couple of downloadable games. That's right, it doesn't just have movies and demos. It actually has playable games, playable demos you can download to the Game Boy Advance. And the reason why I say speaking of NES is because this interactive disc, and by the way, if you're downloading ROMs, ISOs and things, it's the May 2003 preview disc. You can download Dr. Mario and play it to your Game Boy Advance. So you have your cable connected. I believe it's going to start downloading. Hopefully it will. Attempting to link to the Game Boy Advance. Game being downloaded. And you can see the virus tablets. And voila! Dr. Mario on your Game Boy Advance. Cool, right? But it could also be used for demos. And we're going to show that because there is a demo also on this disc of WarioWare microgames. So again, we're going to go play cartridge. Make sure it's in link mode. We get the E for everyone. And it's downloading to the Game Boy Advance. This takes a little longer, obviously, because it's a demo of a full Game Boy Advance game. So it's not like a small NES game. And here we are, WarioWare Inc. trial version. And we're playing WarioWare from a GameCube demo. And again, that's not the only cool stuff you can actually do. In certain games, the Game Boy Advance can be used as sort of a second screen to enhance the experience. One of them, obviously, is Wind Waker with the Tingle Tuner. So what we're going to do is we have the Game Boy in link mode. We press the button for the Tingle Tuner. Would you like to call Tingle? Yes, we would. And they're calling Tingle. It takes a little bit. And Tingle's being called right now. Sorry if this thing is not like getting accurate. And there's Tingle. And with this one, you could spend rupees to have Tingle drop bombs, like we're gonna do right now. Link, move out of the way. Never mind. But that's not all we could do with the Tingle Tuner. We can also have him, let's see here. We can also have him use a seagull pen to mark places on the chart. To do balloons. To have shields, and especially useful with bosses, to actually give you a potion. And by the way, all these cost rupees, so be careful when you use this. But it could also be used as a primary screen, and for that, we're going to go to another Zelda game. Yes, the big one. The one everybody wants to know about. Zelda 4 Swords Adventures. And by the way, it's a really fun game. Especially if you have 4 players. Even better if you have 4 Game Boy Advances, or in this case, Analogue Pockets. Now, this is really simply easy to do. You just link up the GameCube and the Analogue Pocket. Go to link mode. You don't have to press nothing. And we've got power. And by the way, this acts as the controller. So you just press start. Forgot the controls are a little... There we go. Let me see something. Rolling Adventure. Okay, yeah, so player 1 could use the controller. The other players have to use the Game Boy Advance. So, just keep that in mind. Whereas Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, I believe everyone has to use a Game Boy Advance for multiplayer. So this is what the Game Boy Advance is primarily used for. We're going inside a cave. Oh, of course, not this one, but usually you go in a cave. And when you go underground, you can actually see where you're going. And of course, it's also got your item and your hearts. And this is what I mean about going into the house and what it does in the Game Boy Advance screen. So normally you wouldn't be able to see what you're doing, or the gameplay would go in the house on regular Zelda games. But in this one, you go in the house, it goes right on the Game Boy Advance screen. And you get the sound through the Game Boy Advance. And now we go back out, we look at the TV screen, and it works like that. So that pretty much talks about the link cable and what you can do with the GameCube without a game. But it also links up with actual Game Boy cartridges. How? Let's find out. Yes, Metroid Prime. And of course, Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion came out the same day. But it can also link up for some cool bonuses. And of course, we're going to show you that here. So, we got Metroid Fusion connection bonuses, and if you have a completed game in Metroid Fusion, not only do you unlock, of course the screen here, not only do you unlock the NES Metroid, but you can also unlock a fusion suit you can actually use in-game. And unfortunately, you can't put the Metroid game on your Game Boy Advance, just on the GameCube. And of course, that's not the only game you could do a connection to. You can unlock bonuses. There's a whole bunch. I know Batman unlocks Link's modes in certain games. Like in both the Game Boy Advance version and the GameCube version. The All-Star Baseball could trade cards and stats. Such things like that. But there's also 2 major games that you can use with the link cable. And yes, one of them is Pokemon, but we're going to show that last. But there's also something similar to Pokemon, more like Tamagotchi, and that's Sonic Adventure. That's right, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Now, you could also do this with Sonic Adventure DX, but I believe Sonic Adventure 2 is the easier one to do. So, with Sonic Advance on the Game Boy, you can literally take a Chao from Sonic Adventure 2, put it to your Game Boy Advance, and also Phantasy Star Online has a special Tails Chao as well. I know there's a special Knuckles Chao, but I forget how that actually works. But you could take, if you have both games, I mean, yeah, you could take care of your Chao in the GameCube, but as you're going to see, you could also take care of it. Now, like, select one. If you actually have the Game Boy Advance and a copy of Sonic Advance, and Sonic Advance games, I think 1, 2, or 3 should work. I got Sonic Advance 1 over there. You can actually bring your Chao in and take your Chao out. So we got Chaos here ready to go. And a big, huge Game Boy Advance over there. So we're gonna pick, oh, sorry little buddy. Which Chao should we use? Who's that little cutie one? Oh wow. Hey little buddy. They're rambunctious little guys, aren't they? I think this is the... So we're gonna take Sparky over here. And it's happy. And we're gonna dump him into the Game Boy. And we're gonna Cal Transporter, drop off. And we got the tiny Chao Garden. And I'm pressing A. Alright, I figured it out. So basically you have to press A on the Game Boy and it'll say connected to control with Nintendo Gamecube. So you can only have 1 Chao per Game Boy Advance cart, and you can only have 8 Chao on a single save, so I have to let one go. But to drop it off in the Game Boy Advance, we're going to do a little bit of a swap. So we're going to pick up, we're going to send this Chao over to the GameCube. And for some reason, it didn't go. I tell you, this has to be the most frustrating one. Pick up. There we go. So now, our Chao from our Game Boy Advance is back in the GameCube. So how do we now put a Chao in there? So we're going to take little Tails over here. Come here, you little bastard. Come on. And you got to press A and B at the same time. So we're going to take him. And of course you see we have no Chao right now. And we're going to drop him off into the Game Boy Advance. Transporting Chao, saving Chao data. And just like that, we have Tails. But it doesn't show as Tails, it literally just shows as a Chao. And of course you could pet the Chao. And it feels so good. Of course, feed the Chao. Or I guess we can. Oh, we gotta pay rings for that. Ugh. Anyway, that's how you take care of your Chao. And by the way, don't forget to save and exit. So your Chao is in your Game Boy Advance. Now, we're going to go to the biggest one, and that's Pokemon. And there's a few things we can do with that. Now, obviously with Pokemon, there is a lot of stuff that you could do with that. And everybody knows about Pokemon Coliseum. Everyone knows about Pokemon Box. We're still going to show them. But you can also receive Pokemon from other places. And one of those weirdest places was on a store kiosk disc. Now, one of the biggest uses, not just for the e-reader Eon ticket, but also for this, was to not only give you a special Pokemon, but to also update your game, because there was a glitch that for your berries that they didn't grow past a year of gameplay. So, and that was fixed in Pokemon Emerald, so you don't have to worry about that. But for Ruby and Sapphire, their game was already bugged. There was no way to fix it. They fixed it in future revisions. But what about the millions of carts already out there? Well, that's what this is for. And this is also on the Eon ticket as well as the Jirachi disc. So to do that, we're going to start our Ruby and Sapphire. And also we're going to get a rare Zigzagoon. Insert Ruby and Sapphire. Because it doesn't go past a certain screen. Like, you literally have to turn it on and it intercepts right at the warning screen. So that's the last game we loaded, so that's what we're going to do. See? Right at the copyright screen is when they actually go there. And it changes to Berry Program Update. Could not be updated, and that's because I'm playing a revision 2. But if I wasn't, it would update it. I'm not going to get the Zigzagoon, I don't think, unfortunately. But there's something else we can get. Jirachi. This is the Coliseum bonus disc. And you got this when you pre-ordered Pokemon Coliseum. And I know this because not only did I pre-order Pokemon Coliseum, but my buddy just wanted Jirachi. So all he did was just had me pre-order the Coliseum game. He got the Coliseum disc and then canceled his pre-order. And also, if you remember, GameStops and EB Games were just giving this disc away whether you pre-ordered or not. But it has a preview of the new movie Jirachi Wishmaker. Has a preview of Pokemon Coliseum the game. But most importantly, it has Jirachi as a special gift. It's called the Wishmaker Jirachi. So we're going to play. And showing us all the things we need. Please prepare the Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire game pack. I don't think so. Oh, they want us to have a fucking free space. Okay. So we'll do that when we'll come back. Alright, so we have our 5th space open. We're ready to receive Jirachi. And we're just going to quit the cartridge. I already saved the game, so it doesn't matter. So we're going to play cartridge. It takes a couple seconds. We're going to play Jirachi. Giving us that screen again. And wants us to connect. And we are. It tells us when to turn on the Game Boy, by the way. And it detects it. It's communicating. There's our screen. You don't need to update your berry program yet, because I know, because I'm running revision 2. Uh-oh, what's this? Could this be Jirachi? I wish for a Jirachi. I wish somebody would give me a Jirachi. Oh wait, it's a star. What's it doing? It's Jirachi. Oh boy. Please check the screen on your Game Boy Advance. And there's Jirachi. You got Jirachi. Please take good care of it. Please turn off the power and unplug the GameCube cable. Okay, so since we're on an Analogue Pocket, all we gotta do is quit cartridge. And voila. Now we're gonna go back to cartridge. And let's see if we have Jirachi. I forgot the buttons are just weird on here. Let's see if we got them. We do! Here's Jirachi. Come on, camera. There we go. As best it's gonna get. Docile Nature. Salic Berry. Wish Confusion and Rest. Where's the original? Wishmaker. There we go, up there. So we got Jirachi, but that's not all we can do. Let's go to the Pokemon box. Ah, yes, Pokemon box. And if you've never heard of this, I don't blame you. Because this is a really, 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 really rare title. Not just because it didn't sell that well, because let's be honest, not everyone is really going to need a GameCube program to put all your Pokemon onto a memory card. But also because this disc was exclusive to Pokemon Center in New York, at least in the States, and I think you could also order it through Nintendo's website, but it wasn't sold in stores, at least not to my knowledge. It may have been when they were clearing all the GameCube games. But as far as when it first came out, it was only at the Pokemon Center, and it was only at Nintendo's website. Now, what is this? So basically, this is used for Ruby and Sapphire. I believe it's compatible with Emerald as well. I'm not sure. But it allows you to transfer Pokemon back and forth between the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance. And there was exclusive eggs and Pokemon I think you can only get in this game. And basically the Pokemon is stored on your memory card. And nowadays with the GC loader, with now the flippy drive, Pico Boot, it's a great way, especially if you're playing on an Analogue Pocket or an EverDrive, or even original hardware with original cartridges, to get those really rare Pokemon, because especially with a MemCard Pro, there's saves that you can download, one of which I just did, where it literally has not only all of the Pokemon available at that time, but also shiny versions as well. So literally you have access to every... Now, obviously PK Hex is a lot easier, but these are legit. These are legit, especially if you want legit event Pokemon, they're here too. It's a real... Now, back then it was like, why would I need it? But now it's really good to have. And also, when it came out of note, it also came with a split memory card. It was Ruby and Sapphire. It was, one side was Ruby, like a clear red. One side was a clear blue, of which I still want to make the Game Boy Advance like that. But I digress. But it's like Animal Crossing, it came with its own memory card, because you need at least 59 blocks to do the Pokemon box. Now, another question I know people are going to ask, and I'm going to show it. Can it, you also, yeah, it's great, you could use flashcards. But what if I'm just using OpenFPGA? Can I still take advantage of the link up? Yes, you can. And let's show you right now. I have the Game Boy Advance core from Spiritualized 1997. And just to show you, it is the Game Boy Advance core run on Ruby version. And before we start, we're going to press start, go to Pokemon box. Please connect the Game Boy Advance. So now we press A. It's going to load. It takes a while. Game Boy Advance is on. It intercepts. Confirming connection. And voila! Pokemon box. You can turn off the power on your Game Boy Advance system, but do not unplug the Nintendo GameCube Game Boy Advance cable, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire game pack, or the memory card. I choose not to. I try to leave it on the screen, especially if we're just going to put Pokemon back and forth. So here's the program. We're going to do arrange boxes. And this is our Pokemon box. And we've got the party from the Game Boy Advance game. Now, this is another save that I had, similar save that I put the Jirachi on. So we're going to put Duskull on box 2. And we've literally got our choice of Pokemon. And as you can see, there's shiny versions and regular versions. And this is a whole... all 386, a whole memory card full of them. And yes, with the Flippy, with the Analogue Pocket, the MemCard Pro, this is literally the ultimate of what you could do with this game. It's insane, I know. So, we're going to take a rare Pokemon, one that you really wouldn't see unless you actually had a ticket or whatever, and that's Deoxys. We're going to put Deoxys in our party. Right here. Pokemon cannot be transferred because the Pokemon does not have more than 100 Pokemon. Oh, for crying out loud. Well, there goes that idea. But let's try something else, shall we? We're Pokemon Ruby, right? Surely we could put Kyogre in the game? What? Pokedex does not have more than 100 owned Pokemon. For crying out loud. Really? We'll fix that. Give me a minute. Alright, so we're back. Nothing that a little PKX can't fix. But anyway, let's try to put it in our party now and see what it says. Oh, what? I was able to do it? Ah, screw you. Yeah. So we're going to save here. And with this, we should have Deoxys on our Game Boy Advance. But it's literally saving everything. The game on the GameCube as well as the Game Boy Advance. So now I say, hey, we can turn off the power. So we're going to quit. Open FPGA again. Takes a minute. We're going to start up our Pokemon Ruby. And we're back with our Ruby version. And we're going to check our party. And we should have Deoxys. Original Trainer Ash, level 100. Choice Ben. Nice choice. Shadow Ball, Superpower, Extreme Speed, and Psycho Boost. But anyway, that's Pokemon Box. And there's a lot more stuff for the Game Boy, but one more that I definitely want to show is Pokemon Coliseum. Alright, so we got Pokemon Coliseum, and you've seen the Jirachi disc earlier, but this one can actually interact with your Game Boy Advance in other ways. For example, you can transfer over some of your purified Pokemon that you had in this game, and that's the only way to get some of the legendaries at the time, like Raikou, Entei, Suicune, or you could literally bring your Pokemon over into the Pokemon Coliseum. So we could register our Pokemon from a Game Boy Advance pack. And really important, you have to save at a Pokemon Center. So if you're saved anywhere else in the game, say if you're saved in the woods or you're saved in a cave, you can't do this. You must be saved at a Pokemon Center. And if you've seen earlier, that's exactly why I was saved at a Pokemon Center, because these games insist on it. I don't know the technology behind that part, but you have to be at a Pokemon Center. And it's checking the connection. We got a connection, and again, we're getting this screen. It's staying there, and that's where it checks for the connectivity. Checking the party Pokemon. Pokemon Coliseum, link standby. Connected to slot 2. And it's showing our party. Okay to register Pokemon. Yes. And data's been saved. Turn off the Game Boy Advance system. We're gonna quit it. That's the same thing as turning it off. So we're gonna do a Coliseum battle. Single battle. Uh-oh, can't do that. Tower Coliseum, single battle. We're gonna enter with these Pokemon. I know I'm gonna get killed, but it's for demonstration purposes. So we literally took our Pokemon from our Game Boy Advance, and now we're battling on the GameCube. Just like you would for Pokemon Stadium in the Nintendo 64. So clearly I'm gonna go with Deoxys first. Swish Swish and Exploud. Is this okay? Yes. And we're, just like that, we are at the Tower Coliseum. Getting ready to either get trounced or kick some ass. And uh-oh, the teacher wants to kick our ass. Ninetales. I remember all Pokemon are level 100 in this one, in this stage. And here's our Deoxys. And we're going to be using, looks like there's 3, like 5 PP moves. Of course, got the PP up. Ooh, that was nice. Of course, our attack fell. That's not so nice. But anyways, I'm doing this battle. There's a lot more games that work with the link cable, but I wanted to just show you a taste of what's possible and to show it actually working on the Analogue Pocket. Because yes, there's a bunch of video, like I said earlier, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube talking about, oh, it can only use superpower. Good Lord. Anyway, the whole thing is that there's a bunch of videos on YouTube that show you how to use the cable, what you can use the cable for. None that I know of show you how the Analogue Pocket. None. There's one video that showed you how to modify a first-party cable, but none that actually showed you it working. And I showed that not only can you work it on an EverDrive, but also if you have OpenFPGA, you could do that as well. So, for now, Flipper is complete. I'm just waiting on the SD extender, which should be finished any day now, or by the time you see this video, I should already have it in. And also, Laser Bear is working on an LED jewel for the GameCube, so you might be seeing that on Flipper in the near future. But anyway, it's been a journey, an exhausting one, but it's been a journey. But in the end, it's a story, and stories are always good, especially if stories can help others who may have the same problem, especially since I have a rare GameCube that's on 1.0, or someone that's maybe struggling with the installation a little bit. You never know. So anyway, that does it for this series of videos on the Flipper project. We'll be revisiting it time to time. I'll be doing some streams with the Flippy Drive, also doing some gameplay captures to upload them to my YouTube channel. But we got another project upcoming. Because next, we wanted to revisit the EverDrive N8 Pro for the NES. And to do that, we need to build a custom. So in memory of Big John, my stepfather, something I finally wanted to do for 4 years, we are going to be building, in his honor, a custom NES. And wait till you see what we've got planned. So until then, I am out of here. Rachel Schaefer, signing off. Until next week.
And we know Flipper lives in a world full of wonder, lying there under the sea.